Father God, bless us tonight. Bless us to make the right decisions for our county and our community and this people that live here. Bless us to keep the peace. Bless our tongues. Bless the enemies in the room, and even if it's me, keep my tongue. God bless America. God bless Michigan. God bless Cass County. Amen.
Amen.
Commissioner Locke, you lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Leyland.
Present.
Commissioner Lawrence.
Present.
Commissioner Locke.
here.
Chair Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Howie.
Present.
Commissioner Barrera.
Present.
Commissioner Marquetti.
Here.
And Commissioner Lee.
Here. Moving on to number 5 is public comment. Once we start, you have a 3-minute limit. You cannot converse back and forth. Please feel free to come up and say what you'd like to say, and the first person may go.
Sorry, I've never been to one of your meetings. I've seen
Yep, at the podium, please, or wherever you're comfortable.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Pepper Miller, and I'm with the Niles Dial-A-Ride Transportation. I recognize some faces out there. I've worked in transportation at the city for the last 6 years. And doing a job like this, you get to know your riders' needs and how important public transportation is to them. I've heard that Cass Transportation is in need of some help, and that's why I'm here. For most of the riders, this is their only means of getting to their doctor's appointments, going to the store for groceries, getting to work, and for some parents, getting their kids to school. For some riders, the dispatchers and drivers are the only people they talk to for whatever circumstances are in their life, and depend on them to make these trips happen out of necessity because they have no other way or possibly no other help to get places they need to go. For example, once a month, riders from Cass County can come to Niles, go to Martin's and Walmart, because Cass County does not have these resources in the area. The need for public transportation is real. What would the 9,643 riders that you provided service for last year do without this service? What I am asking today is if you could please find a way to help Cass County Transit stay running and give them an opportunity to get a millage proposal on the ballot in February. Because if they stop running before this and it's gone, it is no easy task to get it started back up, leaving these 9,600 plus riders no option to get to the doctor's, work, or school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Jim Peterson, Village of Cassopolis trustee, and I want to echo some of what the previous speaker said. I think there's a strong need for public transit in Cass County. Today, we just cut the ribbon over there at the new hydro plant, 70 new jobs. But we don't have 70 new houses in Cassopolis. Quite frankly, a lot of these workers are going to come from someplace else. Starting out a job might be a pretty heavy lift to go out and buy a car. As a proud Ford retiree, I hope they run out and buy a new Ford product and keep my pension going and my retiree health care. But that's a heavy lift for your first job. There's another business in town that's going to add 30 more jobs. That's 100 jobs. And quite frankly, I haven't seen 100 houses go up in Cassopolis, so those folks are going to come from somewhere. I hope it's a lot of Cassopolis residents, but I got to believe they're going to come from someplace else. So we need a reliable, strong transit system. The other thing I want to point out too is the village of Cassopolis has grown tremendously. A lot of people don't realize that Cassopolis, the village, goes all the way up to Decatur Road now. That's the village out there. And up by me, I'm one of the newer developments up on Stone Lake. We don't have sidewalks. If I want to come into town, it's taking a chance on M60. And you can't do that on foot, you can't do that on a bicycle. Our kids and grandkids need a ride. And it's just more need for a reliable transit system. So I hope the commissioners do whatever they can to keep our Cass County transit system going. And thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe.
Next. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to change gears a little bit, but let me say ditto to what they said. That's my 2 cents on this. But actually, I'm a little,
Can we get your name?
oh, I'm sorry, Bernie Williamson, Jefferson Township. And I'm actually a little backwards here because I thought that the Conservation District would present and I was going to comment to support, but I'm going to precede the conversation. Let me preface that what I'm about to say is not to make anybody wrong. I'm asking the board to have a shift in perspective when you're considering the request by the Conservation District. Currently, the county contributes $5,000 to the district, and it's been about that same amount since back in the day when Bruce Campbell ran the program out of the Drain Commissioner's office. In spite of the fact that the number of permits has almost doubled and the request for other services has increased exponentially, the number of employees has not. Consider, too, that the services that these 2.5 employees provide have a direct impact on water quality, obviously, which has direct impact on property values and subsequently on tax revenue. So, we all know this, but we don't always think of requests for funding as investments, and that's what I'm asking you to do here. 74% of our tax base here in Cass County is residential. And according to the equalization report, that's $3 billion of assessed value, $2 billion of taxable value, and we're spending $5,000 a year to offset the risk of affecting what people value most in this county, the natural resources that they invest in. They come from far and wide to own lake properties. They pay top dollar for those properties. They pay millages for second homes. And that's not to discount the fact that our farmers use that water for irrigation. They use these services for soil quality to secure their investments. And again, it doesn't count the tourism dollars that come in from people who want to fish on our lakes and canoe our rivers or just float. And our Airbnbs and our VRBOs and our new, in the village, the new shops and stores that are being frequented. We have to consider this as much bigger than just satisfying a request for services. This is an investment that stands to gain a tremendous return. And if we can stop the snowball that's going down the hill, because we are facing an audit, the team members from the Conservation District are working as fast as they can. I know this because I used to be on their board. I am a resident, I am a business owner, and our business gets frequent permits because, we do a lot of work on lakes, and I know how hard they're working, and I know what the challenges are, and I know that they're fulfilling so many things, not simply out of the money that they receive, but out of commitments of their personnel to conservation. And although that's wonderful, that's not how you run a business. So I'm asking the county to consider this from a business perspective, that this is a financially sound investment, and I would ask you to look at it that way. Thank you.
Thanks, Bernie.
Next, please.
I'm Minnie Warren from Pocacan Township, and I'd just like to ditto everything that they've said thus far, and I would just like to add the Community Action Agency to it, because you have, the COA. You have a lot of seniors out there. They've had, they're getting more, and that's the transportation that they have, and if they don't have the transportation, then I guess they stay at home, and some of them there's dementia, and some of them just old age and different things like that. And their caregivers need breaks every now and then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, please. Going once. Going twice.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Della Bundle from Jefferson Township, and I too am in support of continued transit service here in the county. I have a daughter with a disability who did ride the bus into town. We live between Cassopolis and Edwardsburg, And mom and dad were going in different directions. She needed a way to town to work and was not driving at that time, so we have personally used it. Encountered one of the village trustees at the Hedro opening, and she was, wanted to be here, but I would express her interest as well, that there are many people in our community that do not drive, cannot drive, don't have transportation, depend wholly on the transportation system. So we would ask that you would consider your help. The people are here. They have spoken. I hope you're listening. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no one else, we're going to close it. Last chance, anybody else? All right, the floor is closed to public comment. Number 6, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda? Take that as a no. Number 7, Commissioner Marquetti.
Yes, I move to approve the agenda for November 16th, 2023.
Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, do the same. Motion carries.
I move that we approve the committee of the whole minutes for October 19, 2023.
Second.
Motion with support. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, do the same. Motion carries. Number 9, we don't have any presentations. 10, committee reports. Any standing committees like to give a report?
I got one for the health department. As we all the commissioners got the email, but for the health department, we have a case of a farm with the avian flu, the bird flu, on one of our properties in Cass County. So keep an eye on your birds. You know, there's a lot more detail, but I'm not qualified to go into that, and I don't want to misspeak. So, you know, anybody got need any more information, get with me, and I'll mail you the flyer that they sent me. That's all I got.
Go ahead.
Okay, so on 10/25/23, I Zoomed a webinar on the resources available from the state and the Michigan Association of Counties on opioid abuse. That same day, I attended the Cass Planning Commission along with a number of residents from Howard Township. The Planning Commission reviewed a solar siting ordinance which may be void now because of the recent legislative action by the Michigan House and Senate, which gives siting authority to the Michigan Public Service Commission. It awaits the governor's signature. On 10/23, I met Brandon Anderson, who was representing Helping Hands at the Edwardsburg Food Pantry. We gave him a tour of the pantry and gave him a lot of the forms that we use. It was set up earlier and it turned out really well. On 10/26, I completed 1.5 credit hours for my master planner credentials on Zoom. It was about housing and especially workforce housing for a number of parts of the state and many that are large tourist areas, and they count on seasonal help and they don't have any place for the seasonal help to stay. So that was a problem up north mostly. Additionally, the Opioid Settlement Committee held its first meeting, and it set the days and the times of the subsequent meetings, and we elected Carol Beeler as chair. I attended a Brownfield meeting regarding a piece of property in Edwardsburg, and the Human Services Coordinating meeting, council meeting, where the presentation was from Helping Hands, and I learned that they served the community for 40 years, were begun by 4 pastors from area churches, and coincidentally, the Edwardsburg Food Pantry was also started by 4 pastors. And that's my committee report.
Thanks. Nobody?
I have one. Okay, I have been appointed to the Cass County Historical Commission, and the Cass County Historical Commission and the Cass County Historical Society is respectfully requesting that Cassopolis School Corporation consider transferring ownership of the red brick school to the Cass County Historical Society as an investment in historic preservation and education for Cass County residents and visitors for generations to come. And I would love to yield the rest of my time for additional information to Bernie Williamson.
We can't do that right now.
Why?
Yeah, okay. I can answer questions when you're ready.
We can give you an opportunity at the end.
Okay.
Are you finished with that? Do you have more? Do you have any more that you want to give?
No,
Okay.
I didn't know we couldn't yield time. I thought we did it here before.
With how many people are here, we're going to keep moving, and then we can do that at the end. Does anybody else have a committee report, or can we move on to district reports? All right, who would like to give a district report, if any?
Okay, the Edwardsburg Chamber of Commerce is holding its annual Cookie Walk on December 7th from 3 to 6. After the Cookie Walk, the Uptown Improvement Association, in collaboration with the Edwardsburg Museum, will hold its annual tree lighting at the museum. It begins at 6:30, and donuts and hot chocolate will be provided. On Monday, this Monday coming up, the Edwardsburg Food Pantry will have its annual food giveaway, which, depending on the size of the family, they'll get a turkey or a ham plus all kinds of other non-perishable items and even a pie. The Edwardsburg School District provides much of the non-perishables, and that's become an annual collection for the school district. So we have tons of stuff thanks to the school district. And that's it for me.
Thanks. Anybody else have anything?
Yes. Okay. I received an outpour of, I should say, flooding of phone calls requesting public transit authority to be supported. I do understand and I do support everyone that had called me, and I think it's a good thing. So I wish the best of luck for them.
Anybody else? If not, we're going to move on to the administrative report number 12.
Yes, my report's in the packet. I'm going to take, if anybody has any questions on that, I can answer those. I'm going to take a little different track today. First, I wanted to introduce Tricia Smith. We've, as of this year, we added a public defender administrator under the MIDC grant, and Tricia is our public defender administrator, so I wanted to give her a chance to say hi.
Yes.
We only are going to have her give a quick 25-minute presentation on her office.
Yeah, that's not happening tonight.
But, no, we thought it was important for you guys to get a chance to meet her, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
The other thing I'm going to do, and I want to start doing this, I think, across the county as a whole, and so I would encourage department heads, elected officials when we attend. I can talk about my report all the time, but I think it's important for us to talk about the good things that happen too, and look around at our different departments and offices and say, hey, here's something cool that happened, and highlight those. So I want to talk a little bit today about GIS. GIS Director Espeland actually was recently voted to be the Vice President of the Michigan Community Association of Mapping Professionals, ICAMP. They're the state's professional GIS association for public and private sector GIS. From what I heard, she actually spoke in several sessions at their conference and presented a workshop that was, I think, so well attended, it was like standing room only. So it was really good to see the other GIS folks from around the state wanting to get involved and hear what Erica was teaching. She was also appointed to the State of Michigan's Imagery and LiDAR Committee and appointed to the GIS My Growth Board charged with executing aspects of the State of Michigan's strategic plan for GIS. So I think it's a great thing with Erica being involved in these boards on a statewide basis. She's able to represent Cass County's interests and our needs and the things that the county wants to achieve at a greater scale. So that's a really helpful thing. She doesn't obviously get anything extra for that. The county's not paying anything extra for that, but the extra time she's putting in is bringing huge benefits back to the county. It allows us to be really involved in the standards, innovation, and funding opportunities that are out there. The department as a whole, a couple things. Cass County was the last to join the state's 911 repository for GIS data, but was actually one of the first to successfully submit data in the new, I'm not sure what the acronym stands for, but NENA standards to the state. 911 repository is essential to enhancing routing and informational needs of computer-aided dispatch and emergency planning. And they've been involved in collaborations with the Pokagon Band to increase data accuracy for 911, MEC to assist with the Robin Grant and broadband availability, electrical in Dowagiac, and local area schools GIS data needs for bus and transportation routes. The Beacon site that we have for our tax parcels is receiving approximately 200 visits a day with over 31 requests per visit, so that's going really well. We're also gearing up to start a drone program. I know that Erica is nearly finished with her FAA Part 107 pilot license, which will allow us to make use of a Phantom drone Cass County acquired through a SAW grant. So we're excited for that. And then the last thing I'll touch on is the MOU with the city of Dowagiac is really paying huge dividends. If you have been following with some of the lead remediation stuff, the state made a lot of great comments that, you know, the GIS data that was being presented, the dashboards, things like that, they were really impressed and saying, hey, we're gonna use that as an example for other communities in other cases like this. So, and that's just one thing. I talked with city manager Anderson about how things were going, and he was ecstatic. He said he was really thrilled with how it was going and couldn't ask for any better service. So, you know, thank you to Erica and GIS as a whole for all that they've been doing.
So,
Thank you.
do you have her,
I don't, I have it in the office.
Go ahead, Roseanne.
dare you, Roseanne can do it then.
Okay,
Yeah.
if I may, Erica, stand up. Okay, thank you.
Just,
Okay,
just don't hit
as
your head on the TV.
soon as I heard, I said, I want to give Erica a challenge coin, and then I just put him away. And I'm happy that you stand up so everybody can see who you are, those people that don't know her. This is our GIS director, and this is one part of the fabulous things that she does for our county. So here's your challenge coin.
Thank you, I really wanted one.
So I have to say that Chairman Jones, he did want to give you one, but.
Oh, okay. You can all give.
Somebody dropped the
Real quick.
ball. It'll be okay, Matt.
Good job.
Anybody have any questions for the administrator? Nobody has any questions, we'll be moving on.
Thank you.
Pilot's
Number
license.
13 is the finance report. In the packet, any questions, see Jennifer? Is that what you were gonna say?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
First, we met January 15th, everything went great, November 6th and 7th, and I left earlier than expected.
Any questions for her? All right, number 14, county partners.
I just wanted to, I'm Corey Glavis with the Cass County Conservation District. I wanted to point out that the spotted lanternfly has been detected in Indiana and Elkhart County and in Mishawaka. So we're on the lookout for that species. I left flyers and I can get anyone else that wants it, I can give you the information. If you do think you may have found one, don't, it says smash it and stuff. Try to collect it so that we can confirm that that's what it is. So try to collect it in a jar, bring it to our office, take pictures of it, send it to us, so we can take care of
You
it.
put a bounty out for it, you might get more.
We might have to at some point. It will negatively affect wine, so I'm kind of interested to make sure it doesn't come around here. On top of wine, other agricultural commodities will be negatively impacted as well. And then our annual meeting, I put posters out, we do have some more, that is coming up, I hope you all can attend. We got a lot of good silent auction items coming to help with the fundraiser portion of that, because we need to continue to help raise some funds for the district. And last, I wanted to present, NRCS, who we are housed in a federal office. And so this month is the American Indian Alaskan Native Heritage Month, and they always put out a really nice poster. So I do have only a handful of these, so I'm gonna leave one here for Jeremiah or anyone else on the board. And if someone wants more, I do have a handful, so please get hold of me, and I'd like to get them
My
distributed.
wife would enjoy that one.
Yeah.
My wife is part native, so she would enjoy
That
that
one's yours.
poster.
Yeah, nice.
Thanks, Corey. Any questions for her? All right, what else we got for county partners? Bob's here. Bob, you got anything?
Oh, sure. Doesn't have anything to do with it. Is that all right?
It's coming. My buddy got caught in the pass in Colorado this afternoon. They closed the pass down.
Oh, dear.
Oh, fans in Colorado.
I jinxed us when I appeared before you the evening of November 2nd. Unbeknownst to us at that time, the next morning, we were attacked by ransomware at the county road commission. And what an experience that has been. And the reason I wanted to share this story with you is because you all need to know what a superb, excellent IT department this county has. We
are beyond blessed to have, not so long ago, we took an advantage, really, of utilizing county IT for our provider and not an outside independent contractor from the private sector. The things that they put in place, unbeknownst to us, frankly, because it's way over my head, is exactly what was needed for that attack. And so the consequences or the outcome of that was minimal, comparatively speaking, to many that you hear about. No data left our system, no personal information left our system, so everyone's personal data was protected. Everything that was backed up was retrievable, and so they have restored all of our data. And frankly, I can't imagine, how they do that, but I'm awfully glad that they're able to. That group came immediately Friday when we called. They worked through the night, Friday night. They worked Saturday, they worked Sunday. I think James was there till 4:30 Monday morning, and they absolutely got it done, folks. We were able to do payroll on Tuesday, which was the highest priority item that we had, frankly, because people get very nervous when their checks aren't where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be. And that was accomplished, and I just had to share this with you so that you know what a wonderful group of people. They responded, they did their job. They had already done a lot of that prior to us needing them in this regard. And so I just had to give them kudos because they deserve it, and we're thankful to you folks for letting us share them, just like we share the maintenance group. And I think, Matt, that we're gonna put a interlocal agreement in place, I hope.
Yes, we are.
So that we can take full advantage of their services, and that others, medical control, I understand, just got up to speed, and we're just blessed, folks. We're just blessed here, and I appreciate it, and I thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Do we have any other county partners who would like to speak?
Good evening. Just wanted to give you all a quick update. This end of this month, we'll be working with Bob and his team on working out how we will divvy up our surface transportation improvement program funding for upcoming year, what projects we'll be able to allocate between road commission and between transit. Also, as an update, as a response to your suggestions to try to cut costs, we did for the month of November stop offering Monday service. It did help us to eliminate overtime, so we saved on some expenses as we predicted in fuel costs and things like that. However, we hurt one of our most important and reliable clients, that being COA. So they have programming that runs 5 days a week, and they had no people who were depending on us to get them to the COA for the activities, for the classes, for their meals, when they're unable to do so. And frankly, COA is gonna have to find another provider if we're unable to continue to give them their service.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Doesn't the director of the COA sit on your executive board?
It does.
Okay, doesn't your executive board make the decisions to cut services?
They do.
Okay. Doesn't the COA provide some busing for their own patrons?
Very little.
That's all I need.
And specifically, they would be able to speak more specifically to their issues, but they have a hard time getting people to drive their bus.
Nature at East right now, sadly.
Very difficult time.
Yeah.
So, it is our intent, we had to cancel our board meeting yesterday due to illnesses, but it's our intent to restore that service so that we don't lose the revenue that comes from COA, and so that we don't continue to impact negatively those people who depend on those services. So, in light of those developments and what you've heard from the community members who've spoken today, and the direct contacts you've had, we hope you'll give favorable consideration to our request for help. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't believe I see any other county partners. So we'll move on to elected officials. Whoever has something, please speak.
Flyer, December 2nd, from 10 to 2, Christmas with the Animals and Animal Control. Great opportunity to come out and interact with the animal control. They'd love to see you. They have great food. They've got a few animals. We don't let you adopt them on that day, but you can come look at them and maybe find that friend. The Sheriff's Christmas special is still on. 10 buy 1 cat, get 10 free. So we can make that happen. Not chickens. This is cats. But anyway, but it's a nice event, and please come out and support animal control. They would like to have, if you could, donate some food, bleach, kitty litter. There's other items that they do. This is the first time in a long time they've actually had to buy dog food for animal control, not because the donations weren't there. The donations were there in record amounts, but they've had such a high capacity of dogs in the shelter. They've had 2 rounds of parvo this year, which created a less opportunity for adoptions or transfers to take place. So they've had a high count of dogs. So there's some good dogs out there for you. Also, I'm just going to give you a little precursor right now, but we'll have an announcement next month, more formal. But Under Sheriff Roach completed the Northwestern University Staff and Command School. 22 weeks of online craziness, maybe, but he was worked real hard at getting that done. You could either do a 10-week version in person or 22 weeks online, and he just completed that last week, and I think the blood's coming back to his face, and he's starting to feel a little bit better. He had a 96 percentile, I think, or 95 percentile in the class, so, but we're waiting for the paperwork to come in to do a more formal announcement of his graduation from Staff and Command. It's one of the highest classes you can take next to the FBI Academy, is what it's, which is a 3-month class. So we congratulate him on completing that process. Wanted to get that information out. Thank you.
Good job, Clint.
Yeah.
My wife's happy results.
Carol, please.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to make a couple of announcements. Families Against Narcotics is a group to provide support to families who have loved ones involved with drug-related issues. And we have an organizational meeting being offered to us to Cass, Berrien, and St. Joseph counties at Southwestern Michigan College at 5:15 p.m. on Monday. So I just wanted to extend an invitation, and if people are interested, email me or call me and I can give you more details on that. But it's basically to, a speaker is coming and they provide the support for Families Against Narcotics, the organization does. And then basically it takes local communities to decide if they want that program in their community or not. But they do a lot of successful programs where they partner with Michigan State Police, like on the Hope Not Handcuffs program and different resources that they offer families, because there are a lot of services sometimes for people in recovery, but not so much their families. And so it's to provide support to the families, because it's a lot to go through when you're a family of a loved one dealing with those issues. So I just wanted to let you know about that. It's a great opportunity if you're interested. Of course, I've told you before, but I just want to make another plug for Adoption Day on Tuesday at 3 p.m. All the public is welcome. And we're celebrating several families who are bringing some new family members into their family through adoption. And then I did just want to say there was a lady that was here that got here a little late for public comment, and she was here to support transit. So I thought I should let you know, because she was blind and she was asking me whether that had been covered yet on the agenda or not. And so I thought in all fairness I should disclose that she was here to support the fact that she utilizes transit, and she said she wasn't going to stay since public comment was over with. She was sorry she got here late, so I thought I should share that information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vic, Jeff?
Just a little bit of information. Sometimes not everybody hears these things, but our United States Attorney for the Western District of Michigan, Mark Totten, who was appointed by President Biden, was in county yesterday. I know that he visited my office as well as the sheriff's office and other places. And again, in prosecution, routinely you've got Democrat and Republican prosecutors and so forth, but generally, we get along real well because of the fact that we're trying to fight crime, murder, homicide, rape, you name it. And, well, he's a different political party than I am. Mark Totten was certainly a gentleman, and I met him before, and so that was not a surprise, but we had a good discussion. And historically, we've had a good number of cooperative investigations and prosecutions over the years. From, I remember the first week I was here to currently, we have regular contact with them. I just wanted to pass it on that he was here, and one of his highest compliments was on the new no longer new, but the law course building. He said that again, it was a very impressive building, and for those of us that have the good fortune to work in it, I certainly agree with that. So just want to let you know that he was here. Thanks.
Thank you.
Drain Commissioner?
Evening, board members. Yeah, I just wanted to let you know the drain commissioners statewide are well aware of what Commissioner Marchetti spoke to under Michigan Public Service Commission and what's going on with the siting of the solar panels and wind turbines. And we have an attorney. We also use Dina Bosworth as same lobbyist for MAC. We're working through this now to see what potentially can be done through the drain offices to at least get some level of site review. So I just wanted to let you guys know we are working on this statewide. Don't know where it's going, but we are working on it. So also, I was made aware today that Open Meetings Act complaint has been levied against me with Nestle's office over one of the governmental lake boards. Commissioner Leyland, I'll let you guess which one. So anyway, we're working through it. I would ask if anybody reaches out to you, et cetera, come to me. You know what I mean? Let's clear the air, et cetera. Opens Meetings Act, it's written in a way to where there's a lot of latitude with that, and I think sometimes constituents can kind of take that up and move it in directions it was never really meant to do. So give me the benefit of the doubt on this one, and if you hear anything and you want to get some explanation on it, let me know. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. I asked Monica, she said she didn't have anything, so we can move on. Moving into 17, new business. I think we'll just go about, I'll say we have the appointment section, items 1 through 9. Does anybody have any specific number they'd like to talk about or discuss? Hearing nothing, everybody's good with pushing that to the next agenda? Okay.
Yes.
Item B is the 2024 holiday schedule. That's pretty routine, we have to do it every year. Any discussion points? All right, we'll move it forward. Item C, we have any discussion points on that? That's just the update to the contract to remove one name and add a different name, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think it's just switching the employer, same as the last one.
Right. So we'll move that one forward. Item D is the actual 2024 grant. Any discussion points there? I want to go forward. Item C is the FOC Program Services Coordinator. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, or comments on that? Pretty self-explanatory. We ask that they come to us if they'd like to fill a position. That has been done, and if everybody's in agreement, we'll push that to the next agenda. So it's moving forward. Item F, same thing, Child Support Secretary / Criminal Secretary out of the prosecutor's office. Any discussion points?
I think it's 2 positions, essentially. Is that correct, Victor?
Yes.
Just to make sure everybody knows, there's 2.
2 positions.
It's basically part-time victim rights coordinator to full-time, and then I think there's reestablishing the child support secretary.
Okay. No questions, it'll go forward.
I do have something on that.
All right,
Just
we
want
have
to
a
clear that. So on that one, Vic, you might want to just reiterate a couple things. One of the positions is fully grant funded, as I understand it. The other position, we are going to be seeking some additional funding for that position, right?
One position is 66% reimbursed,
Yeah.
and then we are seeking funding of about $40,000. That's not for those specific positions, but it's to supplement the funding for our attorney that handles the child support case, or the abuse and neglect cases. So bottom line, it's about $57,000 of cash coming through the two revenue streams that we're suggesting.
Okay, I know we had that conversation, I just want to make sure other people were aware of that
Yes.
as well. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
If that's all, we'll push that one forward as well. Item G is a potential expiring motion or resolution. We need to decide if we want to push it forward and bring it back for the next year, if we're going to let it dissolve. So the step level hiring, or sorry, step level retention increase. If nobody has any talking points, I'll say that I think we leave it the same and bring it back up and issue it for next year.
Versus letting it expire. Is this the one we had the
Yeah.
discussion on?
Yeah.
Right?
It automatically expires at the end of this
At
year,
the end of
and
this
then we'd have to bring it forward and reissue it for next year.
Oh, I understand, okay.
Yeah.
Or we just vote to extend the date through the end of next year.
Very good.
Anybody
I think we
else?
should let it expire. Yeah, we let it expire on the 31st of December.
We'll probably make a formal move now before it expires.
Yeah, we would draft a new resolution that would
Okay.
start January 1st, and I think it's a good annual sort
Okay.
of a decision.
All right, moving on.
Carol? Carol, did you have a
I
hand
just
up?
wondered if I can make a comment on that.
Go ahead.
So I myself have not utilized it to ask for the county administrator to be able to utilize that, but with the hiring market that we're in right now, I would hope that the Board of Commissioners would allow that same resolution to go on into next year, because, you know, we have to be able to show that we have money in our budget to afford it. And with the candidates that we're seeing, a lot of times, you know, we want to attract quality, or not attract, we want to keep, you know, the staff that we have and not lose them to other positions. So again, I haven't used it this year because I haven't had a need to, but it's nice knowing it's there. And so I hope that we would trust our county administrator and our elected officials, and that the proper documentation is supplied, and then of course you would be notified when it's utilized, so there's safety measures in place. So I've heard some people saying maybe we would just let it expire, so I guess I'm just concerned by that, because we do have some people that have a lot of institutional knowledge in this county, and it's important to try to retain those folks. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. Item H is the jail system upgrades. Item 1 is the control system. Item 2 is the officer duress system. Item 3 is the body scanner. This is coming directly from the Capital Projects Committee. We just met last week. We were given all the information from Captain Shoup. The sheriff was present, the undersheriff was present. The money's been budgeted in the budget already. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add or ask questions of?
Yes, I do have a question. I do have a question. And I'm in favor of this. I just need to qualify. But it says that the overall cost for all three projects will be approximately $500,000 after the grants are applied. Is that right?
That was based on the quotes we had, yeah, I mean, we'll have final cost figures there, but I know, and you got confirmation, I think, on some of the grants, I think, already. There's still another one we're waiting on, I believe, right?
We got confirmation on grants for the duress alarm system and for the body scanner system, totaling $106,000. And we have another grant out for the jail security system. With me, in the room today, though, is Ryan Tomlinson from Security Automation Systems, who's the person we're recommending, the company we're recommending for the jail security system and the duress alarm system. So, if you got questions?
If we sign it in early December, can you start the next day?
Well, our questions is about the money, Sheriff, not about the.
Does anybody
about
have
the work.
specific
Yes.
questions towards?
You can sit down, man. I got
Yeah,
it.
we'll come to that in just 1 minute.
So the officer duress system, I've never heard about that until the meeting, and I worked there for 15 years, and I talked to some of the jailers, you know, how often has that been used?
So the problem with the current system is it's outdated. It's 20 years old. Actually, I'm sorry, it's 30 years old. It doesn't give accurate locations. It operates kind of like, it's coming from that area type thing.
Mhm.
Updated system will actually give pinpoint locations. It'll have better communication techniques, but we've had an arrest alarm system in the jail since it was built in 1991. And at one point, it was just something that was on an officer's body that they could trip if they were in trouble. Now we have a little for lack of a better term, pager that they wear, and it's hit or miss of whether it'll work or not, but they are there, and we do have them available for the officers.
And those are mandatory to wear, aren't they? Or are they mandatory to wear?
Yes, we do that. The problem is they break down and we're using parts and parts.
Yeah. So if we spend so many $100,000 on that, I'd like to see that like mandatory. You know, we don't want to spend the money and it ends up in a wall locker.
It's mandatory to use, it's just the
Right.
problem is sometimes we don't have enough for everybody. to
Right.
ship.
That's, yeah.
Can we circle back real quick and answer Roseanne's question about the money? So our project costs are not going over 500,000 currently, correct?
And I don't know, if you take the three projects together, they go over 500,000, yes.
Okay, so then if we're shortly over 500, then we take away the grant money.
Right,
So it wasn't quite written correctly in the agenda. That's what she was trying to clarify.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions of anybody back there?
No.
Thanks for making the trip. All right, if nobody has anything, we'll push that forward for a vote at the next meeting. Item I is the 2024 organizational meeting. That's self-explanatory. I think it's the 4th at 5 PM is what we're pursuing. We have to do that by state statute to have the organizational meeting, so if there's no further discussion, we'll push that forward. Jay's discussion, committee of the whole process/function. Roseanne, would you like to kick this off since you requested it?
Yes, I would be happy to. Okay, what I did was I took the committee of the whole agenda and the regular meeting agenda, and I looked at them, and we had, a few weeks ago, a committee of the whole that lasted 3 hours. And so I think that I believe that we need to streamline the committee of the whole so that it does not take 3 hours.
I'm trying.
I know you are, I can sense that. So here's my suggestions. Okay, now both regular and cow have presentations and there's a 10-minute limit. Do we need to have presentations at both regular and cow? And then I said the last I wrote this was over 3. Now, how is the decision made to have presentations at either meeting? I'm kind of suggesting that could we have presentations at the regular meeting or have them at the cow? But the problem with, it's important to talk about the presentations that we had the last time, because there's 3 categories for those presentations. Number 1 of which is statutory, and the law says you have to give an annual report. Another is bylaws of the organization. An annual report must be given according to the bylaws of a particular organization. And then the last one is by contract. We have a contract, and in the contract it says we either have to have annual or biannual reports, and that's stipulated in the contract. So, what do we do?
Well, looking down this thing here, we can get rid of, for the cow, we can get rid of number 11, get rid of number 10, get rid of number 11, get rid of 14, 15.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know?
Okay.
We only need that once, unless there's
Well-
life, limb, or eyesight, we can get rid of that.
Okay, well, so that's my second, that was
Yeah.
my second thing is, could we have county partners at the cow and elected officials at one or the other, but not both?
Right.
Now, okay, Monica, you want to say something?
I just wanted to say, I gave you all a copy of an old
Yeah.
committee of the whole agenda.
Yeah.
And it was much simpler, and
Yes.
the meetings went much better.
Yes, because first of all, if you look at it, so we didn't have presentations?
We have so much more on these agendas.
We do. We didn't have presentations, and we didn't have committee reports. Those were saved for the regular meeting.
We have county email. If there's a presentation or someone wants to give a committee report, send everybody else an email.
Mm-hmm.
That's simple.
So
If there's
you're-
something that you'd really like to get out to the public, then please say it during the meeting, but if
Okay.
it's not pertinent things, send it an email.
So you're saying that rather than give committee reports or district reports, we send those to each other?
I think that would be more than sufficient. Send it to fellow commissioners, send it to your townships or whoever else, and call it good at that.
How will they know what's going on then?
At the township.
Sometimes, well, not all of them go to the
Yeah.
township.
A lot of times, we don't have this many people sitting in the audience though either.
Well, but you've got people watching that, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, on YouTube.
find
Yeah.
that what we're saying is somewhat important.
If those are given once a month instead of twice a month, though, I don't think we're doing any harm by cutting it.
That's true.
I think
Yeah.
those were
Once a
reports
month.
Yeah.
always offered at the regular board meeting.
Yes, they
I
were.
think county partners and elected officials were never, if anybody needed to speak, we asked to be on an agenda. I think having us speak every meeting, I don't want to speak on behalf of all the other electeds.
Yeah.
If you feel the need to speak at every meeting,
Vic does.
I agree with Monica. If we need to speak at the cow, we can always do it in public comment, if there's something, but.
or ask to be put on an agenda.
You all aren't gonna get mad at me when I do my alarm on you.
I would say to that point, though, if we're gonna do the 1450, which I am for, when we hit these specific new business items that pertain to the particular departments, I would like to see input from those elected officials or
Happy to,
department heads.
absolutely.
I was gonna say that, I mean, that's one thing I like about this agenda, is that often, you know, we have an insert that goes in, and you know, for stuff that administration's involved with, we prepare it, but I think the idea was along for a while now is to have, you know, if it's coming from a different office or elected official, you know, however it is, to be able to have them put the information in there and kind of make the case for it. I mean, it'd make a lot of sense, right, for somebody that's requesting something that is familiar with it to come up and say, here's what I'm requesting, than to say, well, Matt, could you explain it? I mean, I think it makes more sense to hear it right from that person making the request, so
Yeah.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
I think it would be appropriate to cut 9, 12, and 13 as well, at least from the cow. I mean, again, if we're talking about updates, we can still get those once a month from the regular meeting.
So is everybody in the,
Hold on, well, I can do that as chair, because I'm the one that sets the agenda. So it doesn't need to be formal,
to
does it?
formally change
Does it
the
have to be
appearance of the
formal?
agenda, it's gotta be a board vote,
Yeah.
To go to the,
according to our
You
bylaws.
said get
Yeah,
rid of
all right.
9,
So, if I'm hearing everybody
12,
correctly,
13
we
as well.
want to cut
12,
9,
13.
10, 11,
you said 10.
12,
12, 13,
14.
and then are we running opposite meetings with 14 and 15, or cutting them both unless somebody asks specifically to speak?
Well,
Yeah.
I'd like to see it on opposite meetings. I would,
Well, they're
because,
both still gonna be listed on the other meeting, correct?
Right.
Right.
Oh.
So, yeah, just, if they want to speak, I mean, we're not gonna
Not
stop
14
them,
and
but,
15.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to speak, they're more than,
but
We
in
should
this
let
case, for the
them
cow, we
speak.
don't need to.
to state their case, just have them added to it.
It's as simple as just making a phone call or shooting an email. We
Right.
can amend the agenda before we start the meeting if we have to. Okay,
okay, so what did we decide about that? I need to know.
so we're striking 9 through 15.
9 through
You're
15.
moving 9 through 13 to the regular board meeting agenda? No, you're just striking them completely.
We're recommending for a
From the
full
cow.
board vote to strike these from the
Just
cow
strike-
agenda.
Strike,
From the
okay,
cow.
gotcha, one thing at a time.
So give them to us again.
Number 9, number 10, number 11, number 12, number 13, number 14, number 15.
Okay. All right.
Would you still like your finance report given at the cow?
I don't need to speak anything, but I do need to make sure that I'm giving it to you guys for audit purposes. It's
Yes.
very important. The
Yes.
auditors are making
All
sure
right,
that
so-
I'm providing financials, so I just need it in the packet. I don't have to speak though.
Okay, it just needs to be included in the packet, that's good enough?
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah.
at least once a month. I don't care what one you guys want it in.
Perfect. Does anybody have anything else on that
So we're
specifically?
leaving 13 on,
Roll with what you have written down.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
so,
wait, one second, I got a question, I have a question. Okay, so you're gonna strike 9, take it out of the cow. Now, are we having no presentations, or are we moving that to the board, the regular meeting?
This is something we can probably discuss when we vote on it, to change the bylaws. Because we have to formally vote in order to make these changes.
I understand that, I do.
I just said, if there's a presentation needs to be made, it can be emailed to us, we can view it before the person comes and talks for 5 minutes.
Or longer. I mean, I think if we're doing presentations, I would like to see that at the regular meeting, but we do need to be
Cognizant of
about the time.
time. Mhm.
So yeah, we could have whatever presentations are forthcoming in the future, could go to Jeremiah for setting the agenda, and then he can make the final decision on what meeting it, or which regular board meeting it goes to.
And you know I get on them about the time.
Yes, you do. You both do.
Yeah,
You
but
both
for the
do.
sake of the cow, we wouldn't have any presentation on
Right.
the cow.
Right.
That's what I-
Because we have business to discuss and things to get through to get it to the real agenda.
The purpose of the cow is for us to discuss, and I will say this, I'm delighted with the discussions we're having right now. I mean, that almost everybody has weighed in and talked, and that's what the cow's for, it's for us to discuss.
Yes.
Anybody have anything else?
And that's kind of like what I was saying earlier, when it comes to specific items to the other departments, I'd like for them to talk.
Sure.
Just so that we have that conversation.
Sure.
Yeah. So they can always be added,
Mhm.
make sure they're added, so we can hear their opinion.
Moving on to item K, Cass County Conservation District Soil Erosion Sediment Control Funding Request. Sorry, I gotta find it in my packet of papers. Does anybody have any specific questions or concerns right off the bat to start with? All right, nobody has anything?
Well, we should discuss.
We can't force people to discuss if they don't choose to.
Request 76,000 funding.
I'll make my case of what I'd like to say. I'd like to see this program come back underneath the drain commissioner, or come back underneath the umbrella of the county personally.
So if it's under the drain commission, does the drain commission get grant money to help fund this too then? Would they, do you know?
Try, but I don't think there's specific grant funding to fund this sole program.
No, I mean, I think most of the income you're gonna see would be through the
Permit fees.
Permits.
And allocated budget from the county.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we ask him if he can do it?
Do we have two people?
I already know that answer, so I don't need to ask.
Well, the rest of us don't.
Sure.
I don't know.
His
Jeff,
head-
do you have anything you want to add?
His head's down.
Cannot seek grant funding for statutory requirements.
Okay.
And as far as what Cass County's provided for, so I'm going to just speak frankly here.
Please do.
We've got a couple competing interests here. I think the amount of money that the county's been putting into soil conservation, even if we just set aside soil erosion for just a minute,
Sure.
is behind. I think that's a fairly safe statement to make. So I think you're going to have to look at this as two separate issues. Soil erosion has gotten complicated, and the law says we can recover costs. However, especially in a county like Cass, we're up to $225 for an 18-month permit, which I'm in favor of. The 18.
300 is the shoreline.
300. We're at a threshold here on that permit if you look around the neighboring counties, which have already done. So it's real easy when these people come in under these inspection or the audits and say, oh, just double the permit fees. So that doesn't work. We're going to have some real blowback if we attempt that. So to go into it under that pretense, I think would be a mistake. So it's fairly easy to look at what the revenue's being generated, you know what I'm saying? I don't think I would go into this and say, oh, we'll just increase the fees and that'll make up for slippage. I don't think that'd be a good way to go into this, so I think you're gonna have to look at how much you're willing to commit and then back into that number. I don't know, how else you can do it. These audits are getting to be a nightmare. We got audited in Kalamazoo. It went on for 2.5 years, well after I left. They finally agreed to something that if I'd had any input on, I would have pushed back and never agreed to. I've studied up on the law as far as the minimum number of inspections, et cetera. Some of these people working for Eagle are pushing forward beyond what the law requires. And I'm not bashful to push back, but in some cases, sometimes people are. I think that's why they drug that audit out, is they just want to wear you down. I do not want to see Cass County get into that kind of position. So it's a little precarious right now. Elections have consequences, and Eagle, DEQ, whatever they want to call themselves currently, is moved in a direction that makes it more difficult now to operate these programs, to pass their sniff tests, as you will. So, to say this is going to be a revenue generator for us, I would say no. To say we can generate enough revenue to break even, maybe in the good times, but I wouldn't plan on it. So I think that's where you're going to have to look hard as what the funding number is going to be and what that's going to go for. I don't see any other way, you guys as a board, how you're going to look at it, but it's two issues to me, so.
Thanks, Jeff. I would like to see the county end look at things and figure out where we can get money from and how much realistically we should be giving versus the actual requested 76,000.
And if we move it forward, in the meantime, we can look at that and still got to vote on it.
Anybody else have anything they want to add? All right.
So, I'm sorry, what are we doing?
This is being moved forward with investigative work from Matt and Jen on where we can find funds, and if we should actually be giving the 76,000 or something
So
lower.
it's not moving.
It's
Yeah, it
moving
is.
forward.
It is going on the next board agenda.
Yeah.
It just may have an amendment done to it or something.
Right.
All right, so next one, L, is elected official salary. Somebody from salary could probably kick this one off, since it's coming as a recommendation from the salary committee.
We recommended that it was 3% across the board for everybody as the elected, starting January 1 in the new election cycle. And that's what was recommended by the entire board.
The entire committee?
Yes.
The entire committee.
Committee, yes.
Anybody have anything they'd like to ask questions of, or?
I'm okay with it.
All right, moving to the next agenda. Item M, discussion road deputies and detectives compensation.
That one also came to the salary committee. It was heated, to say the least. And I've got 13 bullet points, but not gonna go over all of them because we still have time, but I want to point out a couple major ones. Me, I want to give 3% across the board, but okay, yeah, but it was proposed that we do 10% for the road, the detectives, and the overtime, right? So, one of the bullet points is that we just got done doing the budget earlier, in the year, and now we're gonna add more money onto it. Is that fiscally responsible for what we're doing? We're taking away and then we're giving right back. So why didn't we do that to begin with? I'm at fault, that's my bad. It was proposed that we can use the CDET funds to cover any expenses. You know, we still have money for that from the CDET funds that we checked, and we can use that by law and lawfully as a board, you know? What's the ripple effect gonna be with the other units? The rest of the county, what's the ripple effect gonna be? You know, I was a deputized, I wasn't a sheriff deputy, I never went to the academy, I was a reserve and I did prisoner transport for 15 years, and everybody that knows me knows I'm pro law enforcement. You know, but, you know, it can be other ways. You getting all this? Why she? We are being recorded. So, yeah, I'm pro law enforcement. I'm not trying, but if we do this, it's going to get reversed. I mean, it can't get reversed. We give them 10% on top of the 3%. Where is that going to put us? You know, I don't know, but I'm pro law enforcement. When I call 911, I want the cops to be there. So I'm giving my time to the rest of the board here. And I'll reserve the other 9 bullet points for the actual meeting.
So my thought on that was, you know, not being a full-time employee here, I have to take a certain level of trust with the elected officials, and when they come to us with an issue, I listen to them, and frankly, the discussion was what's it gonna take to solve this issue. The immediate need of the issue was that we are losing road patrol, and it's being very difficult to get, you know, people to apply for that position specifically. And in that discussion, we realized that we needed to be more comparable in pay when it comes to what we pay our law enforcement and every other agency in the area, and I'll let the sheriff speak to a little bit more, is paying more in wages. And even since we had that salary committee, the Niles Police Department decided to increase their pay as well. There is a lot more to this issue than simply the pay. And just recently, the sheriff just sent us an email where he asked us to drop that down to 6% and consider the idea of removing the trigger. So I think that's really, you know, something worth discussing here tonight.
Have we got anywhere with that trigger removal, Matt? If we can do it, and what happens if it was removed?
Well, I mean, I think the key to remember is that this is all part of the contract that
Negotiations, yeah.
So, I mean, it's not to say that you can't make changes that would be, you know, offered via letters of understanding, but, you know, you do need to think about the fact that, you know, all of these things were bargained for. That was how we got to the situation that we're in now. I mean, at some point when you start making major structural changes, does it make sense to look at, you know, whether negotiations should be reopened for other things? I mean, if you're talking about an adjustment to wages, that's a smaller thing. You can say, hey, you know, we didn't anticipate what the wage growth was gonna be over the last 2 years, we need to address that. When you start looking at these sorts of broader things though, and I'm not saying necessarily that it should stay or not, but we do have other units that have trigger points as well. If you say, well, we're gonna remove it here, what does that say to those units that went through negotiations and those are there as well?
That's
I mean,
that ripple effect that I was talking about.
You know, I mean, it's, once you start getting into saying, well, what about this package or that package, you know, we're starting to talk about potential negotiations for a contract that is already closed. I mean, I'm not saying that, again, minor adjustments aren't something we couldn't look at, we certainly could, but at what point does it become a bigger thing than just a simple LOU and we need to look at more of a, maybe we need to reopen the contract, sort of a negotiation sort of scenario?
Is it something we can move to the MERS committee?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
With what Matt just said, we seriously consider trying to reopen negotiations to actually negotiate these things. If there's more than just the one specific potential pay raise, and then now you throw in the parameters of lowering that potential raise and doing away with another bargain tool of the contract, we should seriously consider trying to open negotiations back up and actually negotiating it like everything was negotiated the first time.
And then you might be able to find out
Yeah.
if more than just money, because at this point, we're just throwing money at a problem, but if we reopen negotiations, other things might surface or should surface that will tell us why people are leaving and why we can't attract. We know why we can't attract nobody. Nobody don't want to be the police these days, but we want to retain the ones. So maybe there's more to it than just money. And if we open up negotiations,
To talk to them.
yeah, then we'll have an opportunity to talk directly to the source and find out.
Well, just so everybody knows, it's not the full board sitting in those potential talks. It's
Yes.
usually the chair and the vice chair. And
Me,
the
you,
But we
and
could
Matt.
still, give you guys our input.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. I know I sent you guys an email, and a few weeks ago, actually, I sent it to the chair and the vice chair about the problem, what the problem is. And the problem is, I don't have a department to really go back to, so. My problem is, when I was undersheriff, assigned undersheriff in 2003, we had 41 FTEs in the road patrol division. When I became undersheriff in sheriff in 2017, that number was down to 32. That was not the responsibility of the Board of Commissioners at a whole, but it was the responsibility of grants and other things that had expired and things over the years. Now, the commissioners did eliminate a secondary road patrol position during that time, that we kind of had half grant funded, but the state was cutting those grants, so that made that position. So I'm now down to 24. 24 FTEs in the road patrol. That's not enough to really give effective services. I have 8 open road patrol positions right now that are funded, that you've approved by the budget, open. But not included in that 8 are the positions that were eliminated in the school. We had a school officer that we had doing community service and in the schools, eliminated. Senior safety coordinator with a program with the Council on Aging where they paid 30% and we paid 70%, eliminated. Those positions aren't coming back. Those are 2 positions that were very valued. The schools would love to have them again. This year I had the Marcellus schools come to me wanting to fund a school resource officer for their school. I couldn't provide it. Didn't have enough people. Your drug team is 0 right now. There's nobody in the drug team. This keeps going, we're not going to have much of a road patrol. I've been informed by 2 of my deputies that they're considering a position outside, and the only reason they're considering it is the pension. I've had 11 people leave since the trigger came in, and most all of them blame the pension trigger on it. I shouldn't say the trigger, when the trigger was first discussed, when negotiations started.
Are all 11 those the
They're
DB
not-
trigger group or some of those sergeants group?
Nope, those are all DB trigger group. These aren't retirees. These are people who left to go work elsewhere, like Van Buren County, St. Joe County, Tribe, all places that are close, and they went to work for. We had 2 go to Allegan. So this is my way to tell you what's going on in law enforcement. Now, you can say, we negotiated this 3 years ago. Other departments have done these increases for their agencies. City of Dowagiac, 13% increase. Edwardsburg, 10% increase. City of Niles, brought to my attention, is looking to do 5s over 3 years. I think it's initial 6 or 7, then 5s over 3 years. Everybody is noticing this problem, and yes, they're throwing money at it. They're throwing money at it, but that's what it's taking. And they're chasing the money. But our problem is we have this trigger. The trigger that is pending over. Now, I've tried to explain, the trigger is still quite a ways out from what we can calculate, but we don't know. Right now, they're paying 24%, they being the county, and the whole package is paying 24%. The trigger's 50%. October 1st next year, that goes to almost 29%. I understand the issue at hand here is that cost is going up. But it also comes down to, we got to have people to work on the road patrol. And so this is my way of saying, we got to try to avoid this and try to catch up. As I stated, pretty much everybody has raised their rates. Even Cassopolis Village raised theirs. And it's just, that's just one portion of this. Like I said, the bigger boom, so to speak, is that fear of the trigger getting pulled. And these two officers I have that have come to me, one has 10 years left and one has 16 years left. So it's not like these guys are at the end of their term or anything. They still have a lot of viable career left. That doesn't include the people that have left for retirement, which I anticipate 2 people retiring next year too. So that'll be 4 people, taking me down to 20. What are we doing? We're trying to send people to the academy. We've sent 5 people to the police academy in the last 3 years. 3 of those remain. 2 of them have left because they didn't have a contractual obligation. We solved that by having contractual obligations if you sponsor them in the academy. The state of Michigan now has solved that for us by making it a mandatory 4-year commitment if you're sponsored by a law enforcement agency. So that's going to help retain some people once we get them through the academy. My problem is I have a position open today. It takes 7 to 10 months to get them through the academy. Why I say that is the academy itself is only 3 to 4 months long, depending on which one you go to. But the problem is you got to get them through physical agilities, you got to get them through testing, you got to get them through the whole stages, and that can be a challenge. So it's not an instant response, for lack of a better term. I'm probably the only person in the room that was working in the county in 1991. 1991, we had the road patrol went down to 8 people. I was number 8. There was budget cuts in the county from building the jail, and the money was just ran out. The county at the time did not budget to staff the new jail. So we had to move people from the road patrol to help staff that jail, then you had to hire people to staff that jail, and the money was taken from the road patrol. Went down to 8 officers. When I was hired in the sheriff's office in 1987, there was 27 road officers. Went down to 8. Think about that. And I was number 8. I was saved, I guess. But what that meant is we didn't have 24-hour road patrol. We only were on the road 20 hours a day. I was getting off at 3 in the morning, and there was no county deputy working until 7 in the morning. The thing that was saving at that time is we had 5 police departments in the county at that time. Dowagiac, Cassopolis, Edwardsburg. You also had Marcellus, and you had Howard Township. We also had the state police. The state police at that time had 2 police posts. One was in Niles, one was in White Pigeon. They now have 1. Now you only have 3 police departments in the county with the city of Dowagiac, Cassopolis, and Edwardsburg Onto Township. They were kind enough back then to help respond to calls as needed from that 3 to 7 in the morning. Will they have that? Will they be able to do that today? I can tell you right now, Cassopolis Village does not have a car on a lot of times. They have somebody off. They're short-staffed. So there's times there's nobody working Cass. We're covering the village of Cassopolis. So that should have some people concerned. They don't have anybody, we don't have anybody.
Were they cross-deputized back there in 91 to where?
You know, I don't know. I was just a lowly deputy.
Yeah. But they can't
So I don't know the answer to that question.
So Cass Edwardsburg.
That was Sheriff Parrish at the time. And I think he did, but I don't want to walk on that without more research.
But now, you being the sheriff, you could cross-deputize all of those entities, and if it came down to it, they could help.
That's a discussion we can talk about. We do some deputization like with the tribe.
And the tribe, yeah.
So no, you do have the tribal police that wasn't here in 1991.
I got stopped twice by them going home from here.
So, by the same token, they're not here all the time either. They got tribal responsibilities. Their main responsibilities are casinos, and that's where they're at, or their tribal lands. We don't see them stopping many cars anymore. Actually, they kind of have a rule. They don't stop much unless it's a really bad offense. So, so you're lucky. So you're lucky.
Oh, I was going 67.
So. So that was a trying time. I don't want to see those times come back. As I was saying, the state police at that time had posts in Niles, White Pigeon, and New Buffalo. They now have a post in Niles and New Buffalo. Just today, we were at a meeting where the lieutenant from the state police said, at the time, at one point, between Niles and New Buffalo, they had 50 troopers working those two posts.
Wow.
They have Niles covering now with 18. It's not just Cass County, it's nationwide, it's a problem everywhere. And I understand, where does the money come from? I understand that's a question, but we also got to understand what the root services for county government is, and that's public safety is pretty much the top. And this is my way of just not announcing. I didn't want to come up here and have to do this by any fathom of imagination. You know me, I'm gonna be a team player, but I'm getting to the root of my issues here. And as far as opening up the contract and everything like that, I was on the phone with Dave Willis, who's the head of the union. He's not the head, he's like number 2 of the FOPLC, which represents the deputies and the detectives. And he says this is happening all over the state. Muskegon County just offered their deputies $6 an hour raise, not 6%, $6 an hour raises. He says there's 80 municipalities that have contacted them outside of normal contract negotiations to do some type of an adjustment to attract people. It's not the exception, it's the rule. So that's why I think we need to consider that. Do you need to open up the contract? You do not. There can be just an offer. In the packet I emailed to you was the thing I was asked to provide, the 10% increase in wages. That is in there. That's all that would have to be done. You don't have to open it up. It's just an offer, and they can accept it. But I can understand if there's a desire to do that, but then that would have to go back to the deputies, vote if they want to open it back up. You would think they'd want to, but that is a step. Right now, you can just make an offer in what's called a letter of understanding or a memorandum of understanding. So you don't have to, but you can. My problem is the longer this takes, the more odds I'm going to lose these 2 deputies. And I don't want to, and it's not a threat, it's just where I'm at. And so I said in my letter, I really appreciate the 10%, but I really think the trigger is our biggest issue. And lowering that percentage and looking at eliminating that trigger would be probably the best thing for my office.
So-
I understand how it affects other offices, but right now I don't see those other officers having 8 people vacancies for open positions they have.
Well, they might after tonight. So we can move this forward and with the, you got it. Yeah, you got it.
Do what you're gonna do. I just wanted to have my moment here, and I appreciate you giving me a few moments to talk. So.
Does anybody have anything from White Still at the podium?
Wait
Do
till
we
you sit
fully
down.
understand what the implications are of removing the trigger?
We're gonna,
Yeah, I was just gonna
Research.
ask that question now. Thanks, Sheriff. I wouldn't mind seeing a 5% one-time payment for a pay increase with the potential of removing the trigger if we can do so.
the one-time payment, not the over.
Because we definitely can't give 10% potentially and remove the trigger, because, I mean, that's giving the house away, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. Jen, do we know anything about,
I'm not sure if we're going to need to pay for our study to see if that's going to change.
I just want to know if we can
Like our
remove the trigger, if we
outstanding
can't remove the
liability.
trigger. Do we know that for certain?
I would assume it'd just be signing a new agreement with them, that's all I have for you, for specifics.
Can we
And I
get
don't
clarity on that
know.
between now and the next board meeting before we bring this to a vote? Does anybody
Sounds good
think
to me.
something differently than what I just said?
Can we offer as a letter of understanding a 5% removal of trigger? Is
Right.
that something that we can do?
But there's gonna be another parameter on that.
Wait a second now.
Any new hire would go
The
to
DC.
a DC retirement, or are you proposing to leave them on a DB?
You talking to me?
Yes, sir. Sorry, I couldn't see your face, you couldn't see the eye contact that I was making with Gary's head.
That's something that you and I have discussed briefly, but that's as far as I've gone with that. So as long as they're going to the DC. that's-
New hires.
That is in the contract, yes.
So that would be the only other parameter to the letter of understanding.
When new hires go to the DC?
Correct.
My
That
biggest
makes
problem
a
with that is I
difference
don't know who we're gonna
for
attract.
Right.
But I'm gonna walk for it and run.
Yeah, the change at least saves 2.
It can.
Potentially, not guaranteed to save anybody.
Potentially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that they could still leave if they chose.
Mhm.
So, you know, that's a crapshoot right there. I had a long conversation with Sheriff today. And, I mean, he knows my thinking. The thing that bothers me, and I even hate to say it, but I have to. The thing that bothers me is, and it's not so much that, okay, say we remove the trigger, but we have 50, 60 people, non-union people, who are on the DC, who really wanted to stay on the DB. What do we tell them? What do we say to them?
Yeah.
That's my big problem with this whole thing, is that we have other employees that we have to think about. We know we can't, from the letter, we know that MERS, we would have to start a whole new MERS program. So it's just really difficult. It's difficult. And I'll probably lose sleep over it.
It's gonna get worse, for sure.
Anybody else have anything? All right, so we'll move that forward to the December vote.
What specifically do we move forward? The 10% or the 5% plus removal of trigger?
5% one-time payment pay increase, removal of the DB trigger. Any new hires go to the DC pension, or the DC retirement, sorry.
Thank you.
Why not do the 6% that he's discussing? Why 5?
Why 10? I mean, we can sit here and ask whys all night. I'm going with 5 because 5 is realistic to their current contractual raises, which are 3 every year. So that would give them an 8% increase this year with the contractual 3 they're already getting.
No, and I understand that, but we are competing here, and the issue is, you know.
Absolutely, we are competing, but because we are competing doesn't mean we have all the money to compete with people.
I'm just
that have
wondering
different
why
budgets.
5 and 6. We had a salary committee that came together, and it was not an easy discussion, but I'm not saying 10% was the answer, removing the trigger. I'm just wondering, where are we coming up with these numbers? The
Where'd we
sheriff
come up
told
with
us
10?
6.
That's what I'm saying, where'd we come up with 10? We can
We're
sit here and
in a
argue about it all
discussion.
night, or we can meet in the middle and try to.
Are
make
you
some-
coming up with 5 because you're using your authority as chair right now to come up with a number, or are you taking his
No.
word?
I just asked everybody sitting here.
You didn't
if
ask
they have
anybody.
Anything else to say?
You simply are just taking
I
charge
said,
and throwing out
what
numbers.
does everybody think of
Sheriff,
this? Does
do you
anyone
want
else have
6
anything
or
else?
5?
Not the one today.
Nearby.
All right, I remove my suggestion.
I move that we go with the sheriff's suggestion,
Which is,
6%, and discuss removing the trigger. Whether or not it passes, we're gonna move forward with it.
And then have the new hires go to DC?
That wasn't the sheriff's suggestion.
No, yeah, all
I'm
right,
not
yeah,
touching
yeah,
that.
yeah, I ain't, me neither. All right, there it is.
you got something?
Anybody else have anything else?
Go ahead, you got it? Well, RJ has something to say.
I still think we should consider, I mean, we have to look at the current employees that we have, but we also have to look at the financial security of our county and for the future. I am 100% in agreement with the 6%, that that works with the sheriff. I'm also good with moving our current employees, getting rid of that trigger, but I do think we need to consider the DC for new hires. Not because I don't want us to be an attractive county, but we simply do not have the money. Based on how it's looking, we just simply don't have the money to support those defined benefits in the future.
Right.
The reason I'm fine with it for our deputies is because these people go out and they deal with the worst of us.
Yes.
Okay? It's like I sit in an office, I have a 401k. But these people, they can go potentially get shot at and hurt. You know, they put their life on the line to protect us, so they can have at least the current ones can have that, in my opinion.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree too.
Yep.
The new hirees will have an opportunity to have a good plan by the time they reach their 25 years, even in the DC plan.
Yeah, and it's still, yeah.
Right now,
it's-
if you took that away from them, they don't have
And-
the opportunity to have a good DC plan by the time they retire.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal plan too.
It is.
It's phenomenal for what
You're
it
not gonna
is.
see that
18%?
everywhere.
I wanna be a deputy.
Well, the state doesn't even know.
Let's move on.
With that, do you have everything caught up, Monica?
Thank you.
I'm gonna allow Bernie to talk now with your yielded time, if she's got something to say regarding the Red Brick School,
Yep, I will yield my time.
if that's okay with everybody else.
Yep.
I can just stand here, I think I can
You're
speak
good.
loudly enough. Just to give a quick summary, the county has had a lease with Cassopolis Public Schools for the preservation of the red brick school on M62 for the last 20 years. And we're always vying, as we've seen tonight, for funding to restore the building. We've done a good job maintaining it, mowing it, doing basic repairs, but the potential hasn't been realized because it's been volunteers that has been outfitted with antiques that are authentic to the period, all the school desks and the pictures and everything. It is a one-room schoolhouse as it used to be. There used to be 150 in the county. There are 3 now. This is the only one that looks the way that it does. And we use it when we can as an educational opportunity, but we can do so much more, but we can't do it under the current structure we have with the county that relies on taxpayer dollars. So the Historical Commission spoke with the Historical Society, which is a 501c3. We asked if we could discuss the possibility of asking the school system to transfer ownership to the society with caveats that there would be preservation restrictions included in that transfer of ownership. We asked that it be donated as opposed to sold so that any money that they do have could be used to restore it. We put together a PowerPoint presentation for the Historical Society, and we voted earlier this week that we would go together and ask for that transfer. And the win to the county is essentially that it would come off of the current lease, which has the county paying for the insurance, the county paying for the electricity, the county paying for repairs and maintenance. And it does that and would transfer that burden to the society, but it would not forfeit the commitment of the county to the historic preservation. If the school board were to approve it, we would move forward. We have donated funds to pay for the attorney to draw up the agreement, and we would ask the school board to make that transfer. If they agree, they would have their board approve it. It would come back to the society, and the society would receive it. And so that's it in a nutshell. We've been working on this for several months. It sounds like the school board is very receptive, and as I said, this would be a united effort by both the Historical Commission and the Historical Society. And Mary is a member of that.
You all have more stuff that's gonna come before us anyway, though, as far as changes that we need to approve as a board, right?
The bylaws.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, and that's going to go to your policy committee. We're asking for the option to have a proxy for appointed members, because we have several members that go to Florida, but they've been members forever, and they join by Zoom, but they can't vote. So that's one of the issues. But when we get through the bylaws, that'll be coming at some point.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay. Questions? Cool. All right, thank you.
Anybody have any comments, announcements?
Oh, man.